Go get her, Ray.
Two dogs.
Don't fuck with the babysitter.
Sprocket, old boy, what are you barking at? What do you see?
Nerds.
Nerds.
I'm Batman.
Now, that's a real badge. I'm a real cop, and this is a real fucking gun.
It's not a knife.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
What's happening? What's the...
Go get her, Ray.
Two dogs.
Don't fuck with the babysitter.
Sprocket, old boy, what are you barking at? What do you see?
Nerds.
Nerds.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Awesome Idiots Podcast. This is Michael. How are you tonight?
Talking over your own intro?
Yeah.
That's not good. That's not professional.
No, it's not.
Hello, Michael.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
We're here tonight to discuss one of our favorite films of all time, one of the greatest 80s movies made in the 90s. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead.
We could just sit here and discuss it like we normally do, but what fun would that be? So we went and we got ourselves a very special guest. Good night. Good evening, Keith.
Well, hi guys. Thank you for having me back.
Thank you for calling in from your tiki hut. I love it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm in Fiji right now, so you know how it is.
Yeah.
And the sun. It's wonderful. So what is a 1990 film doing on an 80s podcast?
So we like to sometimes do something called 80s movies made in the 90s, because there were a lot of 90s movies that had the very 80s-esque theme. And this is one of our favorites, so why not?
Excellent. Excellent.
And you know what? It's our fucking podcast. We can do whatever we want to do.
Whatever we want to do. Hey.
So I'm here in my studio, MH, except MH is not here. MF Jones is not here. I'm all by myself with a bunch of sugar gliders, like 10 feet from me.
Are you taking care of them?
I'm not taking care of them.
Okay, good.
Keith, do you know what a sugar glider is?
I don't know. Is this some sexual term that I'm not...
It's like a flying rat, I suppose. Anyway, the studio where I broadcast from has a whole bunch of them caged over there, so we try to educate our listeners and viewers on how to take care of sugar gliders. We're not going to do that today.
Okay.
Totally different podcast.
You're too important for us to have to sit there and discuss about sugar gliders. Now, you've been on our show before we had all of this crazy YouTube video. See, look at how much fun the video is. And so when you were on our show the last time, we were audio only. And after we did the show, we were like, Michael and I had a post-show meeting, very important post-show meeting, and we said, man, we do need to do video. So we brought in a producer, MF Jones, who you spoke with today. You made his day, by the way, Keith, because he walked out. We work in the same building, and he walked out of a conference room, and he had the biggest smile on his face after talking to you. Completely, made his day. So, MF Jones, I hope the Avengers is fine. So, here we are. We're going to discuss Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. But I do need to let you know, Keith, after you were on our show, a friend of yours, Andre Gower, was on our show.
I love Andre.
And he was determined to make sure he was a better guest than you.
Really? What did he do?
Well, he didn't do anything. I mean, he was great. He was awesome. But it was very important that we said that he was a better guest than Keith Coogan. So we want you...
Oh, okay.
So this episode, you're taking it back.
I'm taking it back. You can't take back Porch Monkey. That Clerks 2 reference for those out there.
Yeah.
Let's take Keith Coogan's whole hangout and take everything out of context. That'll be perfect.
I love Clerks 2. And you know what? We got to bring that term back. We got to bring it back.
No, I don't think we do.
So we're going to kind of walk through the movie a little. We'll have some questions, of course, and then anything you want to interject as we talk through the movie. Obviously, you were there. I was not.
I was there. It was I was there mostly. It was the 90s, right?
Did I lose it?
No, I think we're good.
All right. So this movie starts and it had something that we love in 80s movies.
Animation.
Yes. the
Animated intro.
Yeah. Who's That Girl? Christmas Vacation. I think all the
Made
I
to
think
order.
all the Savage Steve Holland movies. I think they start with some kind of animation in the beginning.
I love a good animated opening. So we quickly find out, Keith, that your movie mom's going to Australia and just leaving you. What kind of hippie shit is that?
Mom needs to get some. Some sort of sheep farmer down there. I don't know. It sounds suspect. I'd love a cross-universe thing with some other famous Australian something. I don't know. It's just so funny that in the news is a family that let their kids go down the street to the park by themselves when they're Walters.
Yeah.
And that it was a fantasy of children of like, maybe something could be arranged that, yeah, we could have the parents gone for a couple of months. That'd be pretty freaking awesome. So yeah, whatever contrivance. That's the great thing about 80s and 90s, like situational kind of comedy movies like this, is you do accept the, whatever they throw at you as the premise or the first 10 seconds of the trailer. You go for it. Anything you can. We knew that, we knew it was Home Alone × 5. We really did.
So how did you go about getting casted?
Or a working girl. Sorry, go ahead.
How did you go about getting cast in this movie?
I read for the Josh Charles role, which was the clown dog boy, and had just finished Adventures in Babysitting, and I felt that the sweet guy that was in love with the babysitter was a little too much of doing the same thing again. And I asked my agent, who's playing this 15-year-old stoner little brother? And I was 20 at the time. And my agent said, you're too old. There's no way. So I went ahead and I prepared it anyway. And I kept everything in the car. And the jeans and the torn up stuff and the wig. I'd gotten a wig at Burbank, makeup, hair and makeup. $15, best investment ever. So I read for the Josh Charles role, which was a page or two of, romantic comedy kind of stuff, which was fun, and I would love to have had the role. But I was like, could I show you guys something a second? And they're like, sure, Keith, whatever, go ahead. So I went out to the car, and I changed and everything like that, and I came back in, and they had changed over to casting all the Kennys. And it was there's a couple of my friends, actually, real Hesher, Pearl Jam, looking, long-haired stoner kind of guys. And I definitely had a reputation for being just as squeaky clean as you can. So I'm acting like I'm high. So I come in, and I just am in character as I come up. The thing I had done, I don't know, I'd gotten my confidence from a couple of films under my belt. And I went for it all the way, and if they can't, if they're not willing to see me, as the 15-year-old, I'll show them. So I kicked open the door, and I jumped in the room and was like, who's in charge? And Kenny just sprang to life. Did the audition, and the director was, okay, thanks, Keith, go ahead and take off the wig. And I peeled off the wig or whatever, and the producers were like, very pleased. I got a call in a week or so, and I got the part.
That's awesome. So in the movie, that is your natural hair, however, right? Or was that a wig as well?
No, I had just finished, Under the Boardwalk, I think. It was pretty short. It was crew cut. It's what the length that it is at the end of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter. That's my real hair. That's a wig made by Wigs by Ziggy here in Burbank. They made two $3,000 hand-laced wigs with human hair. Then I sat for a life cast, and he hand-stitched these wigs. We had an A wig and a B wig, and they would get crusty from all of the makeup stuff and the spirit gum, and amazing job, because there's close-ups. There's close-ups where you're looking right at my hairline, and it looks like it's my hair. They did an amazing job on that, and I spent I would get there earlier than Christina Applegate and spend time in hair and makeup before her to get ready. So I took longer to get ready than Christina.
That's awesome. So Under the Boardwalk, wasn't that like a surfer movie that was like post-apocalyptic, or like it was from the past telling about the way things were, or from the future telling about things in the past?
Like you've seen it or something. Yeah, it was. It was a Romeo and Juliet story, narrated from the garbage-strewn future. People still surf though, and about those heady late '80s. Those days, and shot in all in Southern California. All their surf scenes are shot in California. Released only in theaters in California. And it was one of the last New World pictures. I think this trailer was attached to Heathers on VHS. So if you got a VHS copy either, you would see that you'd see our trailers for each other.
I think I watched it probably like 30 times on HBO, but I just remember like you were like the prophet at the end of, like at the beginning or the end of the movie, like, I'll tell you how it was, dude.
Nah, man, you don't understand, dude. I know, that was pre-Kenny. I don't know. Kenny was definitely an amalgam of River's Edge and Spicoli and Bill and Ted's. The director of Don't Babysitter's Dead had directed Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. So it was that comic take of a stoner, although Bill and Ted doesn't explicitly smoke weed. They just don't show it, really. So here, Kenny obviously smokes weed. But I think they only allow that in a children's film because there's a character arc to him cleaning up and doing something and making a positive change at the end. So that's also why I love the part. I was like, oh my god, I get to just be a total shit, and he changes in the a second lead to supporting Christina Applegate. It was a absolutely great role, and I had no responsibility whatsoever on set except to just be outrageous and ridiculous.
Okay. I guess I had some questions about the bedroom itself. Like, it felt like your bedroom was almost a character in the movie. I guess the house is a larger character, but my bedroom was just like, it was dirty and funky and gross. Was it gross in real life?
The kitchen was really gross. The bedroom was just hot. It's just fucking hot, man. Because we were really in that house. It was out in Canyon Country, out near Magic Mountain. It's just desert, and we're shooting in the middle of the summer, so it was good 110 degrees with the crew and the lights and everything in there. So all the upstairs scenes, my bedroom, the bathroom for Christina, and her bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Were it was so freaking hot. So if you look closely, we're just sweating profusely in all of those upstairs scenes.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, the bedroom. I consider the bedroom is to have been the one that killed the babysitter.
Oh.
Yeah, I never met her or saw her, but I know that the last thing we saw her do was walk into my bedroom and see, the rock and roll posters and the chaos and madness in there, and I like to think that caused her a coronary.
So there's Kenny in the beginning and there's Kenneth at the end. Like, which one is your favorite? Like, which one was the most fun to play?
Kenneth. Well, it's Kenny, and only because he has the metamorphosis to become Kenneth. So Kenny is the favorite. Nobody asks me to repeat Kenneth's lines.
So you talked about you being kind of straight edge earlier. So like in reality, in 1991, you're closer to the Kenny at the end of the movie than the one at the beginning.
Exactly. I was a professional doing about 2 movies a year. Would try to smoke weed with the other famous actors after wrapping up these other movies, but they wouldn't let me. So.
You're not cool enough.
Nah, I was not cool. I was a geek. I was in band.
What are you talking? Band is awesome. Band, there's cool people in band. I was in band. It was all right.
In reality, I mean, if you've ever smoked really good weed, can you imagine working a 14-hour day in the heat with the hair and the wig and the jeans and the thing and the leather jackets and being responsible for $10 million of MTV's money? No, I don't think that's a good idea. Did I smell it on the set? I mean, they're indicating yes or no. It's just a question.
Okay.
Clearly. God.
Christina Applegate, I guess in the recent years she did the Up All Night and then Samantha Who, and she's still crazy hot. Was it weird? I mean, as far as was it just really weird working with you? Or I mean, it was 1991. It felt like the peak of her hotness, but I mean, she's still hot now. But I mean, you're a young man, virile, What was it like working with her?
She was a really dear friend. I'd known her for several years before we did that. from auditions and functions around Los Angeles and mutual friends, and it was an honor, absolutely an honor to watch another young female lead carry, the pictures on their shoulder, and I just cherished any role that I had in supporting, helping her, and that's all we did. There was no hanging out. It was work it, man. We just read that stuff over and over again and try to find the gold in it, and had a lot of help with the director. I couldn't see it some of the times. I had to be bludgeoned sometimes to just told what to do because I couldn't really outside see what was funny. Such a foreign, I guess, situation to me. We're playing make believe here, but I think the director had a really good tone on it. It is fun. And part of it that's fun is you don't even think you'd be into the office intrigue part and quoting, personnel or Bruce, head inventory clerk.
Yeah.
Or what
I'm
Carolyn?
still right on top of it, Rose.
Right, where are the QED reports?
Yeah.
So that and petty cash too. All of those, I hear references from the whole movie. All the way to Walter, and everybody's got a character that they could have identified with when they were a kid. And someone's in the batch of those 5 kids.
So my first, there's two lines that I think that stand out in this movie. And as you said, people quote the movie to you all the time. But there are 2 lines in this movie that absolutely are just legendary. Iconic is the word I'm searching for. One is, I'm right on top of that rose.
Right on top of that rose.
I say that all the time, and actually our producer, M.F. Jones, who you spoke with today, he, when we first started working together about 3 years ago at this job, we started at this really large insurance company on the same day, and we're talking, and one day I just said something, I was like, I'm right on top of that rose, and he just flipped out, and he goes, dishes are done, man! And I was just like, oh, so this guy is kind of cool. Like, I thought I'm just like, oh, this nerd. And I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's cool. So that's kind of like, where how we bonded at first was this movie. So that's why when you said dishes are done to him today, he flipped out. And dishes are done being the other one. That is, I'm sure that you get that.
One of my best friends, he was actually in my wedding party. Brad, I met him. I was going to see, back in the 80s, people would go to see Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight. So I go, and I go to, afterwards, like everyone goes over to, it was like Santa Monica Diner or Beverly Hills Diner. There was some diner we would go to after 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, from another booth, I hear one of the lines from Hiding Out. I'm like, Hiding Out? Walk over, and it's this guy, Brad, who has an audiographic memory. Anything he hears, he can duplicate, and like with the voice, too. So he's just, tons of movie quotes and stuff like that. Instant fast friend, and he was in my wedding, all because of the same kind of reason. I was like,
yeah,
I heard a quote.
Wait a minute, someone's talking about me.
So I'm right on top of that rose. Well, what would be the other line that people like from Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead?
Dishes are done, man. So when you said that line, did you ever have any inkling that 25 years later we'd be sitting here talking about that line, let alone the Etsy line of clothes and everything else that goes involved in that line?
I absolutely, yeah, right. It's amazing that people use it for not only just dishes, You're like, dishes are done, man. And it's also, you could do something the right way or the wrong way. It's finishing something the way that you wanted to finish it. Whether you wanted to piss all over it or you wanted to do a really good job, you can always go, dishes are done, man. There is a little pet peeve. If somebody comes up to me and they're like, I'm such a big fan, and I'm right on top of that rose, and then they say the dishes are done, dude, we have a problem, because that's not the line, and you must respect the text. You're done, man, all right?
So that was a very profound explanation on what it could mean. But how many times do you think a drug deal, someone's called to try to get pot and cemented, like, gave the A-OK with, dishes are done, man?
That would be me coming back to the apartment and the roommate going, "Hey, did you get the weed?" And you go, "Dishes are done, man."
Yeah, exactly.
I never thought of it as too subversive because nobody mentions them later. They're done. At least they're not up the kitchen.
There was
So
a problem. You solved it.
problem solved. I mean, and I remember more of the setups because we had a couple of setups with the lawnmower and do this, and like I remember it was hard to squeeze in a couple of these insert scenes when we're shooting so many things, and the kitchen was this growing mess. They let it go in continuity, so the kitchen was as when Mom left. Then we shoot some scenes if we're going off to work, and the kitchen starts building this foul film behind us, and things start stacking in the sinks, and things get dirtier. And then by midpoint, before Kenny cleans up and starts kind of helping out around the house, and we clean up, it smelled. That thing frickin' stunk, and just dried ketchup and clown dog shit everywhere. It really was a mess. Clown dog was, usually McDonald's stuff wrapped up in fake clown dog burgers.
So I have 2 points on my list I wanted that you just hit on, so we'll go one by one.
Okay.
First one is I wanted to ask, so what was it like working in that kitchen every day? Which you basically just answered, but I mean, it's so disgusting. It really conveyed well on screen.
The flies, you see the flies flying around. I mean, it's gross. And right outside that window is where craft service was.
Oh.
So you step out for the breath of fresh air for a second, but the moment you walk back in that house, man, that thing hits you like a wall. But once they got to the cleanup part, the house put together really well. They hid how large that house really is. It's huge. It's ridiculously huge. And they cut out us finding the pool, which was great because we basically dropped Melissa with scuba gear into this mossy pit. And she's like, "We have a pool." We're like, "Oh my God, we have a pool."
That's a great scene.
So many things had to get cut. I'd love to see all the little things that they cut. There's a couple scenes. I might have been too silly. No, I'm kidding.
There's another scene I wanted to mention that you just touched on, which was the scenes of the clown dog are the grossest scenes ever. Like that place looks disgusting.
It's a Chipotle now.
I just spit took on that.
It was the All-American Burger on Sunset Boulevard, and right near Sire Records. It was transformed to the Clown Dog for the shoot, and then back to All-American Burger, and it has this great arch in front. It was architecturally unique. They tore it completely down. The only thing that's left is the sign, and the sign is in the same shape as the Clown Dog sign. So if you go to the location, you can at least see this kind of sign that was out in front of the basic box of a building now that they have there. And that was, it was the working other restaurant. They just brought in the grossest looking chili and lard you could imagine. And I think they shot that in a day. I want to say a day. They shot all the Clown Dog stuff. Shot it out.
So, question, and I may mispronounce his name, but there's one of your friends in this movie, to me, is one of the iconic 80s B players. Never
Michael?
Really talks. Yes, Michael.
You threw shit in my house, man.
Michael Coppola, or Coppola, however you want to pronounce it. He's an actor, a creator, musician, was in a band with Gabe Jarrett from Real Genius.
That's awesome.
Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in. What did he star in? The Stoned Age.
The Stoned Age.
Right.
He was in
The
Point
movie's
Break.
awesome and horrible at the same time.
Yeah. The Stoned Age was when Comedy Central first started. They couldn't get Dazed and Confused rights because they didn't have the money. So the Stoned Age was on every day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Around the time Michael and I lived together in college, so that movie was always if you're well, I can just watch the Stoned Age for the 18th millionth time, it's fine.
Man, watching this movie with that house, it was giving me flashbacks to the apartment we were living in, like the house we were living in. It was like this contest to see how dirty we could possibly get the house.
Well, then we had a roommate who would bring like 15-year-old girls over to do our dishes. And we never asked. We were only 18 or 19, so it wasn't that bad. But we never asked questions. I just would come home from work, and there'd be some random girl in our house like doing our dishes. And I'm like, I don't know. He was also in my favorite Walmart horror movie in the $5 bin, which was Frogs.
Oh, yeah. Oh my God, Frogs. That's right.
Yeah. Do you remember that one, Michael?
Wow.
Yeah. Where was that filmed at?
Frogs?
Yeah, Frogs.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not here to talk about frogs.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Baton Rouge. It was filmed in Baton.
Okay. All right.
Totally kidding. I have no fucking idea.
Me. So let's just quickly. I'm gonna say the plot of this movie out loud, and then let's just let it sink in for a second and see if that could ever be done today. So these kids' mom, just like you mentioned earlier, just ditched him off. That would never happen today. Just ditched him for Australia. Hires a woman she's never met,
right?
Presumably, to take care of her kids. That woman dies because of your bedroom.
Okay.
And then the kids put her in a trunk and then put her inside a trunk and then just drop her off somewhere. Like,
right.
This is not romantic comedy or teen comedy beginnings. This is, oh shit, it's about to get real beginnings. But yet this movie is great. It's hilarious and it's fun. But when you stop and you actually think about how it started, you're just like, whoa, what the fuck?
Well, that was one of the things that the writers, in all of their drafts, had the last line of the movie of "Swell, where's the babysitter?"
Right.
And they wanted the last note or the last plot point of the babysitter to be about the halfway point of the movie, so that you forget about her by the end, and have so many plot contrivances going.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a completely different movie.
Also, they made the stakes really high when she dies. Oh my God, the police are going to be, her mom's going to come home, her semi-wretched friends. No, that's it. We can't go to Dad. Dad doesn't care. We can't. I just love how I love how Kenny completely accepts, just like his loser friends won't be there unless they bribe him. Dad doesn't care. Don't even worry. I'm a guy. I have DNA, and I know Dad does not give a fuck. He's just totally absent from it, which was, the 80s were about both parents working. So you had adventures like Goonies, and you had adventures like Gremlins, and you had Monster Squad. But the 90s, the parents were so sick of the working that they got divorced. And so the 90s were I'm going to find myself, and the mom went and became a lesbian, and the dad, whatever happened in the 90s. So this was part of the find yourself 90s. If it feels good, do it. If this is what you want to do this, no one's going to hold you from going to clown school. This was Mom's clown school. She wants to go, and we're fine with that. We want to get rid of every kid wants to get rid of the parent.
Absolutely.
So we're stuck with the babysitter, which, I was almost like we kill her. Because I know that there's several suspects. Melissa being one of them. And we also talk about everything to do. Do we hack her up? Do we...
Yeah.
Do we call ourselves in? Do we go, oh my God, she's dead? Do we call Mom? What do we do? We're like, no, let's just totally ditch the body, figure it out. Mom left a bunch of money with us, and so that was our fatal error, was burying the money on the dead babysitter. So then the conflict is, how the hell do we take care of ourselves? The realities of without a parent, food, clothing, shelter. And all those extra things that teenagers need. So it's wish fulfillment with a little bit of reality smack in it. No real too heavy stakes. The only person who dies was going to die 2 minutes later anyway. And it was funny though. Ada Rice Marin, who played the babysitter, she's wonderful actress. But the movie had a kind of cartoony way about it. Cane, and with like certain movements and the way that she grabbed things, and so there was a little bit of editing done, I could see, to kind of make it more abrupt. She was sweet and slow, But they edited it to make the babysitter very quick.
So you mentioned that you really didn't work with her at all, like on screen. Half this, I'd say 3/4 of the cast of this movie you didn't actually appear with on screen, which it really was divided into two. Like you had your home base, which was literally your home base, and then Christina Applegate had this whole other world as Sue Ellen.
In the Gotham reviews, they were calling it playsets. So his wife would always be in her playset in Gotham, and then you go to the one that owns the bar, she's in her playset. Like, certain characters are only in their little environments. And if it's funny, in the first week of shooting, they were shooting all the office stuff out and in a office park in North Hollywood here, Sherman Oaks. And I, wanted to be there off screen. I knew that Christina had the phone scenes, and I'm yelling at her on the phone from the kitchen. And I was like, if someone can be there for me. So I went down to the set. They had a trailer for me. They're like, okay, you're here. And I sat off camera doing my lines. So I was there for the office stuff. And and thank goodness we had the party scene too. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to, work with Joanna Cassidy or David Duchovny or Kimmy Robertson. But I became really good friends with Kimmy Robertson since then. I know Twin Peaks was coming out at that time, so I was drilling Kimmy and David over info on Twin Peaks. They're like, we can't tell you anything. And David Duchovny was coming up to my trailer and asking about agents and how to get further in the business. He hadn't done Red Shoe Diaries yet. This was just one of his earliest jobs on Don't Tell Mom. And for the entire lunch, I sat on the steps of my trailer and told everything to David I knew of, like, here's how you do it, here's the hustle, here's the questions you ask, you're hiring them, they're not hiring you, take power in your career, da-da-da-da. Advice I've never followed myself, but bought it and did great. I think Californication is just an amazing, amazing show, and it's just so funny that he was just Bruce, head inventory clerk on the show, and had to work in the canvas of Bruce with the Banaka and cracking stuff, and everybody hates him in the movie, which is a good job, David. Good job. You're a good antagonist. Everybody hates you.
I think it's the shoulder pads that they add to the scene.
What's his line? The void's getting by.
Yeah, in the same sentence that he said the void's getting by, he then sprayed the Banaka. It was just perfect.
Void's getting by. Okay, Bruce. Well, I need executive administrative assistant, so I'll work on those numbers, and I'll have you run and come and get them when I'm ready.
So, how often do you go back and revisit this movie? Like, do you watch it?
Hey, dude, I have TiVo set to catch anything, from my childhood or whatever. It's been catching. It caught the whole season of the Walton stuff, and Weird's Diagnosis Murder. It just caught Growing Pains, and it records. It has fresh copies of Adventures of Babysitting and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead too. It'll be on at the weirdest times. 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be up, and I'll turn on the TV, and there's that Warner Brothers logo and the animation, the music to the beginning. I'm like, wow, Don't Tell Mom's on. And I will watch it. I will watch it wherever it is in the movie. I'll usually watch it through. There's a portion of Don't Tell Mom that does not have Keith Coogan in it. It's probably about from the Grunion Run to a little bit further. And I like to speed search that. Yeah.
So yeah, as your Facebook friend and Twitter follower, you were constantly getting message from people. Oh, Don't Tell Mom Babysitter's Dead's on. I constantly see that. You get a lot of those messages. Michael, I know you had some other things. I'm hogging Keith here.
Thanks a lot, Clay. So we're to assume that the babysitter dies because of your room. Did you have any did you help design or do any of the decoration in the room? Because with the Iron Maiden posters or the GNR stuff at all?
This is one of the things I've always learned is art department and wardrobe and props, even hair and makeup. I'm not going to tell them how to part my hair. and I'm not going to tell them. I mean, I will work in collaboration and be like, I think that is so spot on for the character. But when you walk up, and this has always been the thing when I was a kid too, you walk onto a dressed set, it really brings it to life. It really sets the stage for you. Because an actor could do whatever they do in a black box theater and just use their imagination. But when they put that shit there and crusts of pizza on the thing and like bongs everywhere, and we had a camouflage net on our ceiling, and it brings the reality there, and it helps. And even if we're shooting just a few minutes in the room proper, I think there's times where we're smoking the dog out, his leg,
Elvis.
a couple of scenes like that. It allows you to, there's a guitar there, so I pick, Mike Coppola can pick up the guitar, or I can pick up the guitar and start playing with it. So I give it to all of the crew of Don't Tell Mom. They did, from all of the branding for the Clown Dog logo stuff, which was on all of our crew shirts. So all of our Don't Tell Mom, it was actually called The Real World when we shot it. So it's got The Real World and the Clown Dog logo. And then MTV was like, yeah, we got to, it's this thing called a reality series. Like, it's called The Real World, we want to change your name. So the executives went off and they polled 13-year-olds. And they came back to us. And in the middle of shooting, The Secret of My Success meets Working Girl meets Home Alone ×5. We thought we had a serious thing here in the young girl at the office kind of movie. They go, oh no, the title of your movie is going to be Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. And I went, you're kidding, right? You're absolutely kidding. It's too long. It's way too long. There's a few contractions. There's a possessive plural. There's no way that this is going to fly, and it can't be named anything else. That is the name. I mean, the marketing campaign is great, and it's like, I like that it's a trailer that doesn't tell you the whole movie. It tells you the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it sets you into the first act, but it doesn't spoil the whole damn thing. Watch how Swell gets out of this one.
That's so interesting.
I mean, today the trailers ruin shit so much. So, back then all they needed was that high concept. A bunch of kids in the city, in Chicago. Great, we got Babysitter. Stockbroker goes back to high school. Great, we got Hiding Out. We got it. Don't Tell Mom a Babysitter's Dead. Mom bails for the summer. Babysitter dies. What do the kids do? And so that, not knowing, and it'll always turn into every movie you're watching, you go, oh, it's a chase movie, or oh, it's a romantic comedy, or oh, it's a plot like this. We knew that we were doing Secret of My Success. We knew that it was Working Girl, but there's a template there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And so layering, that was a big thing in the 80s and 90s, was layering thriller and comedy, or layering, things. And so I think layering all of the kids have a maturity arc through Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. It's just a chip. Take it back. Diamonds are forever. Sorry. I quote all other. That's the thing. It's not just. I'm right on top of that rose, or dishes are done. There's so many quotable lines from.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's so interesting because I never would have liked the Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead title. I don't think if I were in your position, but in retrospect, what would this movie be without that title?
Right.
I mean, it's iconic. Again, I hate to keep using that word, but everyone knows that movie title, and it's because that movie title drew you into it.
And it kept with the conceit that the writers wanted of, this is what it's all about, until it isn't. And so when he drops the babysitter plot, I think it's one of the things where I'm like on the phone going, oh no, Mrs. Sturak, yeah, she's at the yarn store, crocheting this massive doily for the couch. I gotta go. Last times we hear about it, until Mom shows up with her Outback hat. Swell, you've got a lot of explaining to do. I love Conchita Tomei. That was so cool.
So I watched this movie just tonight again with my son, and one of my favorite quotes of my son as he's watching this, and he's 12, he's about to be 13, so he watches a lot of 80s movies, but the one unique thing about this movie is that in other 80s movies the drug use is implied, but it's not shown.
Right.
so in this movie, it's in your face, and he doesn't really know. He's not familiar with bongs or anything like that. But at one point, just listening to you talk, he looks over. He goes, "Is he high?" And I'm like, "Yes, he is."
Is Christina Applegate smoking in a restaurant?
How much smoking did they do in this movie between her and Rose every time?
This was before the big crackdown, and the part of her wish fulfillment of being this adult for the summer, you know, she's already at that edge. She's thinking about community college or this. I mean, it's a pretty deep plot if you think about it. Ha ha ha. And so the smoking, and so you know the mom doesn't like her to smoke. The babysitter doesn't want her to smoke, but to her that's a sign of looking more mature than she is. And when she lights up in the restaurant, she's underage, she's drinking, she's smoking. The last thing we're worried about is Kenny token up a little bit up in his room. Well, a little bit. Yeah, I played him as the most emphysemic, asthmatic. I couldn't even make it up a flight of stairs without losing my breath. That was one of my favorite little bits that I got in there. With approval from the director, I said, I want to run out of air by the I get to the top of the stairs. He's like, perfect. So there was always a feeling of yes. I do have what my direction was.
Okay.
More like a troglodyte, and I had to look it up. I'm like, what the fuck's a troglodyte? And I'm like, oh, like a caveman, like base. And I realized that I was the base character in Commedia dell'arte. I was hungry. I'm horny. I'm just always instantly, and it was so easy to live in that little, you know, brief moment of complete self-centeredness. I love that he absolutely doesn't give a shit rat's ass about anybody else until he changes.
Until he changes his name. He's Kenneth.
Yeah, exactly. I guess what was your favorite scene of the movie? I guess for me though, like especially like the dynamic between you and Walter, like when you're sitting on the couch and Walter's like Walter, why don't you go outside? He's like, there's no game shows outside. There's no prizes outside. And then later when he breaks his leg and you're like, I should have been reading Green Eggs and Ham or some shit like that to him. I love that. I just love that. That's my favorite part. What is your favorite part of the movie?
It's funny you bring that up. That was my actually first day on camera as Kenny. So it was still about the first week of shooting, and one of the last things we did before we moved into the house location was the hospital scenes, exterior and interior. And I hadn't found his kind of way of speaking yet. He'd also been shocked out of being so stoned. So he was like in that midway point of like, oh my God, there's a moment of sobriety. So it was real weird. I had to like start of this halfway point and have not even had the chance to establish, for a good hour or whatever of his like loserness. So that was tough. But the kitchen scene, that to me is the heart of the movie. It's the domestic squabble. It's the role reversals. It looks great on a reel. It's a good little piece. Christina's great in it. I didn't understand it as we're doing it. The director just had really walked me through each and like play it seriously. Don't. I love all the way up to whisk the couch. Well, it needed it. It's kind of a great scene. He has her like, I have to go into work in a Volvo in traffic, and that breaks me. If you watch, I'm listening as she's doing her monologue, and when she says Volvo, I go, oh shit, you're right. I didn't even think about that. So that's funny what an actor will clue in to use, but I used Volvo.
So. That scene's interesting because that's another thing I want to discuss. That's where you guys like almost have a couple dynamic, I mean, I know it's very tongue-in-cheek, but yeah, you guys are an old married couple.
Absolutely, and that's also happened in the 90s. In the 80s, both parents worked, and we had kind of the feminism and the now movement. And in the 90s, we had that dragon lady image after Nancy Reagan. And we had that, Rose Lindsay could be, oh, you're working for Rose. Well, Rose is the sweetest woman in the world. She's so wounded inside,
Yes. Well, that's because Gus is a creep.
But, she's also, her eggs are old, and she should take whatever she can get. Gus is the creeper around the office. I guess that's what she's got to take. That was the greatest thing to be able to work with Gus, because The Fly is one of my greatest, favorite films.
Absolutely.
And then I got to work with Sidney Lassick, who is work with is the party scene. Everyone was at the party scene.
Yes.
So, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for Lassick, and
You just actually really blew my mind because you've mentioned Working Girl a few times as a Working Girl, and I don't think I've really thought that out until I just thought of Rose is basically the poor woman Sigourney Weaver in Working Girl. You know, and I don't know why I've never done that, but she's like the nice version of the Tiger Woman Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, and also
totally just blew my mind there.
The
And
age difference, we made Gus sleazy instead of Harrison Ford because we can't have Christina Applegate go like, sure. And that it, you know, it's a serious thing. I mean, sexual harassment in the workplace is serious, but it was just being confronted then. Because now we had a lot more women in the workforce. So that goes back to the dad's gone, mom's got to work dynamic. So that shifted when mom left and Christina becomes the breadwinner. I stay at home and clean the house, help Melissa with her fastball, you know, do quality time with Walter.
Now, I think the difference is that in the 80s there was a lot more cocaine they were doing. In the 90s they were on pills.
All the cocaine.
So, yeah, they were so happy in the 80s, and then the 90s they were just taking pills to balance it out, and then it was all fucked up. So I think that's the difference between the feel good 80s and the 90s.
I think you're right.
I thought a lot about this. So Gus is such a great creeper in this movie. I mean, he's so good at being sleazy.
I love how he couches things. If that's something that interests you, it can be arranged. If not, I was only kidding.
Right. If he's as sleazy as the clown dog was disgusting.
And it makes me think that maybe the fault at GAW was the classic corporate infrastructure of middle management. That's what was bringing it down. You weren't bringing the youth directly into the market for market research. Of course, they do sell industrial uniforms, so that's another great thing. Her, mistake of thinking it's high fashion, and that isn't that the truth? We all go, and when we leave college and we go to our first careers, we're like, oh my god, I'm gonna get to work at this great company, and it's mailroom, or
right.
No, you're not
success. There you go. So two things stand out as being great 80s things in this movie, as we talk about 80s movies made in 90.
Shoulder pads.
Well, that's on the sub list. There's one thing that really makes an 80s movie, and that's a montage. And this movie has 3 or 4 separate This movie has a montage, takes a 2-minute break right to another montage. It took a 2-minute break between the hey, we're in love, getting to know each other montage to the breakup montage. Like 2 minutes between them. It's perfect.
Then we have the cleaning of the house montage.
Yeah. Look, there's 5 montages. There are 5 montages in this movie.
It's no Rocky 4, but there's a lot of montages.
Well, we've stated before, Rocky 4 is the greatest montage movie ever. We just reviewed Baby Boom last week, which is also random, I know.
I can't even tell you what a great film Baby Boom is.
Well, I'm with you. Michael disagrees.
One of the world's leading playwrights, Sam Shepard, in a really beautiful romantic comedy, and Annie Hall just being Annie Hall. Yeah, la di da. Baby Boom is fantastic. It goes right up there with Funny Farm. Baby Boom and Funny Farm is a perfect double feature.
We actually discussed that. Now, Michael, did you listen to what he just said? Because Michael and I got into a fight about Baby Boom last week.
Well, I guess from my perspective,
I'm on your side, Keith.
I preferred Funny Farm to that, but it's still fun. It's fun to revisit, but I like Funny Farm better.
Keith, this is going to be redundant for our listeners because we just did Baby Boom, but you brought up Sam Shepard. We're in this town of 100,000 people in the middle of Illinois. And one of my claims to fame of this town is that Sam Shepard got a DUI here a few years ago. So he was just driving through, stopped at a local bar, got shit-faced, left his dog in the car. That had to be featured. And then on his way to a hotel and gets popped. So it's one of our claims to fame in Bloomington, Normal, Illinois. So I'm glad that you brought up Sam Shepard because I will keep telling that story all the way through.
I also like in Baby Boom how the power truly shifts. She goes back and she does her Rocky training. She makes montage of making baby food,
Yes.
And she gets that power back. She gains regions, she builds, and she goes back in for the deal. And they're like, all right, it's going to be this. And, walk away from it. She's like, no, I'm not going away from it. Yeah, I'm not going to walk away from Country Baby.
Keith, can we real talk for a second? Because this is my only... Michael's laughing because he knows what's going on here. This is my only complaint of the movie, and I went off on a serious tangent about it not 6 days ago. During that speech, it's a great speech where she's telling him, no, I don't want to sell, and giving all the reasons. But then at the very end, she says, and I met a guy. And to me, that completely ruined it, because then it was almost like every guy in that boardroom was like, oh, well, she's only doing it because she met the vet. You know?
Look how deep this movie is. Look at women today that are freezing their eggs, and they put their whole raising their families off, and they went through their careers, and now they're 38, 42, 45, and they're like, oh, I got to have kids. And so I think that is a perfect balance in what that movie is all about. She's a serious businesswoman, and I raised and get a business from it, and I put up with you assholes. Oh, and I met a guy.
Yeah. Keith, will you do me a quick favor and tell Michael to suck it because he's wrong?
No, David Lynch believes that there is no set meaning or interpretation of a film, and so everyone take is valid.
Fucking David Lynch gets me every... Fuck that shit. Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Heineken. I guess
that's for the spider.
That's for the spider. I guess another part that stuck out to me in the film is when you tell her to eat shit. Like when you have that fight in the kitchen, it's just fantastic.
Shit.
Yeah, there's like prick is a bad word in this movie, but Kenny says shit like 12 times, and he says fuck.
He said shit a lot.
And then he said fuck when you threw the pot plant out the window.
You don't realize how much you say shit until you're watching it with your kids.
The pot plant out the window was an accident. That's a plastic pot holder that looks like ceramic, and they'd set it up, and they had the camera out on the roof actually looking in through the window. So that's the roof that right in front of where Walter fell. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm spaced out. I worked too many movies in the 90s. And that, so it accidentally fell. I went to go, I put it on the planner, and I was supposed to put it, and she was supposed to come into the room right behind me, and I'm supposed to say, hey, get out. And the thing fell, and I just, fuck. They cut the K, so I actually say fa.
It's implied.
And the rest was mostly in the script. I have to say, I did go word for word as much as I could. Yeah, we did. We stuck to the text because the script was wonderful. The script, it was all there. It really was. All those great lines are in there. One of the best lines is from Carolyn. Not Carolyn, from Gina, what's her face? Rose Lindsay. And she goes, what is it, Carolyn? Something.
Well, come on, everyone knows it, Carolyn.
In the script, they hadn't written her line. They're gonna go, what is it, Carolyn? And then they were gonna put something, 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 like she says a clever line right here. They didn't finish that, so when they got to the set, it just said something. But Joanna Cassidy is such a talented actress. She turned that into a great line. What is it, Carolyn? Something. And that was literally an editor's note in the script. So anyway, we took it word for word.
So Keith, you're always going to have a special place in the heart of this podcast because you were one of our first guests. We at that point had done 5 years, and you were one of our first guests. And since we've had so many guests, so many great guests. Andre Gower, we mentioned, Bill Kirchenbauer. We're on a whole Back to the Future thing right now. We've had Goldie Wilson. We've had Jeffrey, who played the dad in the second and third one. We've had a lot of guests. But
reach out to Claudia Wells. She'd love to talk to you guys.
Okay.
Oh, we
Okay.
will.
Yeah.
We will do that.
Tell him Keith Coogan, homeboy.
Done.
Okay.
I appreciate that. So we've had so many guests, and one of the things that we always credit you on this podcast for is telling us how full of shit IMDb is with their trivia.
Oh, totally bullshit.
Because we asked you some questions on your first.
Eventually, Baby said that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And so now we play the Keith Coogan game, which is what we unofficially call it, where we say, "Is this true or not true?"
All right.
To our guests. And more than not, it's not true. More often than not, these are bullshit facts on IMDb. So I'm going to read you. We're going to play the Keith Coogan game with Keith Coogan, and we're going to go through some of the facts that are listed, and you tell us what is bullshit or not. Now, you already confirmed the first one. It was originally titled The Real World.
Yep.
Was production almost halted at the end of the shooting due to Christopher's issues?
Nope.
Bullshit.
Christopher never had any issues on the set that I knew of. There was never anything cut, deleted, edited because of any performance issues. He was wonderful. He would surf in the mornings before shoot, which that would wipe me out. But
right.
We knew that he had some light issues, but he's a teenager, no big deal.
Absolutely.
Nothing apparent to anybody on the set. You know, he's a minor. He's in school all day on the set.
Right.
And fantastic in the film. So that was the saddest loss because it came as such a shock and surprise. You know, nobody wants to lose anybody that way. And it was, you know, I had a death. My uncle actually died while I was shooting Don't Tell Mom 2. There was a period where a lot of people were dying when I was working, and I thought it was some curse. I'm so self-centered. So I got a call, and they're like, come to the production office. And sure enough, my uncle had just died. He was only 2 years older than me, so they gave me a day off to go to the funeral. And then I go right back on the set. Dishes are done, man. I don't remember what we were shooting at the time or anything like that. But no, Chris Pettit, that's not true. We completely on schedule, ahead of schedule, on budget. That's bullshit.
Did you stay and talk to, or did you talk to him at all after the movie? Like, were you friendly? No.
Nope. I was off to Virginia to shoot Don't Tell Mom, to shoot Toy Soldiers. So.
Okay.
I had a question. It feels like, especially when you talk about children and teen actors of the 80s, they kind of have a bad reputation for dealing with like personal demons. I mean, can this be avoided in the future? I mean, is this because the kids are kids and they're easy to prey to like other people manipulating them and using them, or like how come this happened to 80s kids?
Why do you guys get so deep?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But the truth is, I think that if you randomly picked a number of children across the country, you'd find the same incidence of chemical. It's just that the spotlight happens to be on these kids. There's a little extra pressure, but there's no excuse. They're also thrust into an adult world, and there's rap beer and rap cocaine. And no, I'm kidding. There's
no, you're not.
Hollywood, where's the cocaine?
Welcome to Hollywood. What's your dream? Everyone's got a dream. This is Hollywood.
I was just watching 1941 again. Hollywood. Hollywood.
Actually, the special effects director of 1941 will be on our show in a couple weeks. So.
Really?
Pretty excited.
Yeah. As I mentioned.
Dang impressive, I have to admit.
Yeah, actually, we looked over his resume today. As I mentioned, we're kind of in this Back to the Future 2015 situation where we've had a few of the actors who are on the movie. I don't know if you ever heard of Michael J. Fox or Christopher Lloyd. They're not on our podcast. But other actors, Donald Full was just on, and Jeffrey has been great to us. And so, yeah, he has done great movies, so we're very much looking forward to that. Everything from Jaws to Indiana Jones, Back to the Future. So, I think real quick to answer, also to Michael, to add to your question, the 80s I think was really when tabloids really started picking up. So I think that it was just spotlighted more, kind of what to spotlight what Keith said. A lot of the child actors were just kind of in the 90s when they were now older.
Mm-hmm.
It was put out there more. Real quick, this just popped in my head, and I don't know if we discussed this last time, but I just rewatched this video the other day. I love the Kirk Cameron video for Funny or Die, and I don't know if we mentioned that last time, but
it's awesome.
Every now and then I look it up, and just to make me laugh. And I mentioned we had Bill Kirkenbauer on the show, who was on Growing Pains as well, and Just 10 of Us, and he had some very awesome things to say about Kirk Cameron, and also how he wanted to sleep with his daughters on the show. So I'm paraphrasing, but I
got to do both shows, and you like I said, you do Just the 10 of Us if you did a Growing Pains. I think
right, yeah,
I mentioned that on the last podcast, and all of those girls were just amazing. They really were the sweetest, and they weren't very competitive against each other. They were working within a very competitive system with notes to, so and so lose weight, so and so do this or whatever, and so they would band together and really wood shop this stuff, so that because there were scenes up in the attic with like the three sisters or whatever.
Yeah,
And,
Lubbock babes.
yeah, and so that was a really neat set to be on, and I knew that it was more about the kids. Same with Growing Pains. It was like, yeah, it may have been created as Alan Thicke's show, but Kirk Cameron ran away with it.
Oh, absolutely. And then Leo. Who knew? Which one of us, by the way, thinks is the greatest actor of our generation? And it's not me. This is a fight we've been having for 6 years on this show. Anyway, we'll go to. So back to the Keith Coogan game. Was there really a contest to win the babysitter's car?
Yes. So what was really great was when Don't Tell Mom was released on video. This is VHS. This is before the DVD. They had $1 million ad campaign, and on a movie with a budget of $8 to $10 million or whatever, that was pretty significant. And so it included 6-foot cardboard cutouts of all of us and the babysitter's feet sticking out.
Yes, I remember the cut. I'm a collector of cardboard cutouts, so I actually remember that one.
You mean collector random shit, Glenn?
Yes. Before the movie, it had Win the Babysitter's Buick, and it was rate the movie in 10 categories: wardrobe, music, Christine Applegate's performance, Keith Coogan's performance, etc. And if your ratings match a random draw later, so it'd be like 5-4, 5-5-4, whatever that rating is. If that matches a random drawing, you win the frickin' Buick. And that was a surprise.
That was a sweet-ass Buick that Liza Minnelli stole.
Too sweet. We had to have Liza Minnelli steal it.
And how fucking random was that? Like, just drag queens in 1990 inserted into the plot just to steal a Buick. Like, my son's like, who's Liza Minnelli? I'm like, don't worry about it. I don't want to explain.
The actors that are playing them were professional or semi-professional drag artists.
Oh, yeah, you could tell.
Some were
as a frequenter at drag shows.
Third was recruited because they were friends of them and stuff, and they came on and they had to go through the same thing that Peter Dinklage does on a shoot. Did you cast me just because I'm a midget?
Right.
So they're like, we're only here because of this plot device, which is ridiculous, but we're given a paycheck because of this plot. So, we had great respect for them on set that day. Get the drag queens ready. We got the drag queens ready. All right, are they cool? Can we clear everything for them so they don't trip? Shot out here, got in Sunland, I think. There's some sites online that have found a couple of the locations for Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, and that the Chuck E. Cheese location is included, that whole parking lot. And that was also one of the funnest things to shoot because it had a lot of good stuff with the kids. And me and Christina again, I loved working with her. And then I got to work with the clown dog when he came in,
Josh Charles, who went on to some success.
Was definitely a perfectionist, and I have to respect him because most people would come on and do it and be cute, pull a there was a lot of kids with charm like Charlie Schlatter or Matthew Broderick. Josh Charles, just put them on camera and turn it on, and they're charming. But he really wanted to do the work. He's like, no, I missed this beat. No, come back. I got to get this again. Let me set this up better. And so we do that. And, late into the night, we're on Josh Charles's close-up. And, I like that he demanded that. Me, I'm like, are we done? Did we get it? I mean, like,
right.
I'm a first take kind of guy. You're not going to get me after that. But he would develop and get stronger on every take.
Okay, so last one.
So mad props, Josh. Also, mad props to Josh on the best answer for when people ask you if you ever had sex with Christina Applegate. I always would answer, "Oh, she's my sister. That's gross. Don't be like that." He'd answer, "I did her doggy style." Yeah. Like, Josh, that's a much better answer.
All right, so last one, and there are more, but I'm just skimming through. In the earlier drafts of the script, were there more elaborate storyline where you guys were all suspects?
I didn't see that draft.
Okay.
I didn't see that draft. No.
Okay.
The draft. This is as close.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna say if you didn't see it,
was pretty dang close. So I didn't. Unlike Adventures in Babysitting, which had a lot of different iterations, I didn't see the earlier ones.
I'm gonna say if you didn't see it, some random poster on IMDb didn't say it. So I'm gonna go with that's bullshit.
But no, because I remember the writers did. There was a lot of years of development for that on this, and I think it's possible. Let's put it in the plausible category.
Okay, we will.
Yeah.
Let's talk real quick. Was there, and I could have looked this up, but I'm lazy. To your knowledge, was there an official Don't Tell Mom Babysitters Dead soundtrack?
Yes.
Because the music in this movie was actually really fucking good.
No, we have some really amazing bands on there. And yeah, there's some. When you hear "Dragging the Line," you just think "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead." To me,
right? Absolutely, I agree. And when I was I probably watch this movie once a year, which is I watch a lot of movies, and that's a credit to this movie because doing this podcast, most of the time, such as Baby Boom, we talked about. That's the first time I saw that movie in 20 years, or 15 years. 15 years. This movie I watch once a year. Whether it's randomly on television, I have the DVD, I'll pop in, and I don't know, I pay more attention when we're obviously doing episodes like this. The soundtrack was really fucking good. Like, I really enjoyed it.
They even have the Psycho song when you're dealing with, when you're putting...
Twilight Zone theme, Psycho song, there's some good music cues in there. If you listen to the incidental music, that when she sees the clown dog bag on the reception desk at GAW, you hear the music go yes. a little clown thing. So there was a great, and I think everyone just liked working on it. I don't think it was really a job for anybody. It's one of those things of I get to do this and they pay us. So. Yeah, and also I think Warner Brothers has a deep catalog for music, and that's probably that in there.
I will also credit this movie. Keith, you don't know this about me. Michael does for the last 16, 17 years. I'm kind of an effeminate gentleman, and this movie taught me about cucumbers on my eyes. And when I watched this movie at first, I was like 12, 13, 14, but later on in life, definitely cucumbers on the ice.
Have you ever had a 24-hour orgasm? No, I've never been to Santa Barbara.
48-hour, Keith. It was a 48-hour orgasm.
Sorry, I don't even know the lines from it.
Okay. Well, there's your line, so you're forgiven.
I love reading people's re-reviews of Don't Tell Mom, and they're like, yeah, I was 15 and that went right the fuck over my head. And there's a couple of things that
absolutely went over my head the first time.
I mean, I'm glad the kids were all, is he getting high? I'm glad what's going on there.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, now that you say that, it kind of makes me sad because I never thought that when I first watched it, and I was pretty close to my son's age, so I guess it tells you where we're at now.
In a movie with illegal disposal of a corpse, in a movie with petty theft, thievery, cash, illicit drug use, sexual proclivities at the office. I mean, the stakes were as high as they could get for an 18-year-old girl, and still not be too life-threatening. It's more of, oh shit, I'm getting caught. And that was the big thing, because back then, our parents mattered more than the state, the school, the news, the media. Our parents said, don't fucking do this, and don't fucking talk to those people, or you do that, or you be home by 6. You fucking do it, or you got your ass beat.
Yes.
Now, if you get your ass beat, you turn around and call Child Protective Services and you sue your parents for beating you.
Yeah.
The kids have been given all of the power by commercialism in corporate America. They shifted all of the advertising right down into their laps. So we are tripping over ourselves to placate this younger generation and keep them quiet. I don't want to hear them, oh, this is uncomfortable. Watch a movie, play a game, consume something. And back then it was a little more tougher. It was, you skin your knee? Okay, tough shit, you skin your knee. Now you're
growing. Walk it off, son.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the last of that, you know. In the late '90s, we moved into all the existentialist stuff, Fight Club, American Beauty, basically all of the great Sixth Sense. 1999 is a great clear end of those formula stories that have been going for so long, and then by the end of 1999, they learned how to co-opt that structure to tell deeper shit like the 60s and 70s, but that wasn't accepted back then because it didn't have a format. So I think by the 90s, they kind of perfected it as a meme delivery tool and dividing audiences. They didn't just say, you know, in '99 is when we went. There's two kinds of films. There's big box office, multi-million-dollar, big star name films, and then there's this possibility for these films that get in your head like Unusual Suspects.
Absolutely,
Or
that movie changed my life.
about consumerism like Fight Club. And so I think it's a good end of the 80s to kind of say that Don't Tell Mom does kind of signify that in a way, and the beginning of that exploration of format, mashing stuff up in the 90s. And also, but some people, one person commented that when they watched Don't Tell Mom, the Babysitter's Dead, that it's like a week of 1990 that it looks like. They're like, that looks like November 12th of 1990. Like, it's a very slim time before we moved into the, like, patchouli and the hacky sacks in the 90s and the multiculturalness. It was still very white bread and mayonnaise, you know. It was still very suburbs-driven.
Right.
And it was funny, I was fully aware that partially I was shocked when they changed the name of the movie Underneath Our Feet. I looked at the producers and I said, you realize I started in Adventures in Babysitting. Now,
that was a question I was going to ask you.
About the Babysitter's Dead, and they're like, tough luck.
Tough luck, dude.
King of the babysitter movies.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Michael, I have a couple of closing questions, so do you have anything before...
Yeah, I wanted to touch base with Toy Soldiers real quick.
I knew you wanted to touch base with Toy Soldiers.
What is it like working with...
There was many of us in a room, so we're in our underwear. End of story.
Dude. So what was it like working with Lou Gossett Jr.? Like, in my mind, it's everything is like with Mayo from Officer and a Gentleman.
No, it's like with Chef from South Park.
Okay.
So you get to set and you see Lou come out of his car, and all of us kids would run up and hug him like a redwood tree and shout, "Whoa!" Because here's a guy that could just take a paycheck and show up and know that his name sells tickets. But he comes and he does the work, and he does it all the time, and he elevates it. You know, at one point it feels camp.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about Lou Gossett Jr., probably from his past work and his gravitas, that you go, no, I'm going to keep buying this. I'm going to keep buying into this and see what the Pentagon PSYOP solution is, because now remember, what you're seeing at the end of Toy Soldiers is not what the military would do. It's what the military would want everyone in the world to think that we would do in that situation. They're projecting an image. And so our producer had to go to the Pentagon and get approval. He shaved he did a high and tight, he did a crew cut, met with them, looked at the script, they said, well, we're going to change some things about the attack at the end, and you got a green light. And so we got Humvees, we got Blackhawks, we got Apaches, all from the Pentagon, and all this equipment went right over to Iraq afterwards, into what all of the stunt performers and the military were calling the big sandbox. We had actual military personnel on Toy Soldiers, and that was, dude, I've been running into other actors from the day. One of them, Elon Mitchell-Smith from Weird Science and Chocolate Wars, and Elon had said that Toy Soldiers was one that he really wanted, and a lot of kids in town remember going out for Toy Soldiers or auditioning for it. Everybody in town, 30, 40 kids that wanted to be in this movie at that age. And I knew, and I was like, I'm such a geek. How did I get lucky to get in this movie with guns and helicopters and fun like that? So I mean, Toy Soldiers and a great friendship with with Dan Petrie Jr., who wrote Turner and Hooch and Beverly Hills Cop. And
both movies were reviewed.
We love those movies.
Dan we bonded over Kalashnikovs, and of course and Red October. We bonded over reading Tom Clancy books, and I said how I love how Tom Clancy makes the guns a character, and he's like, "You're cast." I mean, I don't know. There was something about the way that, and I read for it and everything, but Dan brought me on, and then I got to read all of the other people coming on. So I'm standing there on this side with the producers and director and everything when Sean Astin comes into the room to read for Billy Tepper. He's a dear friend, and I really want him to get this. That was neat to be on this side of the casting table and it was me and Lou were the first cast, and we.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, and Will Wheaton. I worked with Will 3 times now. Tales from the Crypt, Python, and Toy Soldier.
When's your Big Bang Theory?
We die. I know, right? I'm trying to get on the Goldbergs. That would be. We got to do it.
Oh, holy shit! I can't believe you just said. Okay, we're gonna come back to what you just. No, fuck it. We're gonna do it now.
No,
so, I have. You can't see this.
Scott Baio sent in his picture, and they put it in his room.
You can't see this. I have my iPad here, and I have all my notes. And the very last thing that I want to discuss with you is, do you watch the Goldbergs? That was the very last point, so we're going to skip ahead. Oh my fucking God, Keith.
Yeah.
This show is the greatest thing that's ever happened in the 80s.
Oh, it is. I love that it takes place in 1980-something.
Yes!
Yeah.
I love that it has, they have a website that spots all the toys, and I found it through Sarah's room in all of her Thor stuff and Adventures of Babysitter. It also had Adam's room in Goldberg's, and it points out every single toy on his shelves, every book, every reference, and it really surprised me we had that much consumerism in the 80s.
This is how I know I've done a good job. Is with my being a father, is that my son texted me on his lunch hour the other day just to tell me that he found out he shares the same birthday as Adam Goldberg. And he was so happy about that. Yeah, he was so proud that him and Adam Goldberg share the same birthday. But yes, I can't believe you fucking mentioned that, because that was my last thing I wanted to discuss. So, I mean, seriously, this show is unbelievable for the 80s, and I can't wait, because the longer they get extended, there has to be an Adventures of Babysitting episode. I mean, they just did The Princess Bride, which then allowed me to show The Princess Bride to my children, because they're like, oh, what's this? I'm like, I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, they said it's really, really hard to get the rights. They had to call everybody to get the rights for Goonies, and they had to,
Right.
But I can't imagine a reason why not, with Disney doing the redo as a Disney TV movie. It's going to be on Disney Channel.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing an updated Adventures in Babysitting. So
oh, shit. Hold on. What?
Wait. Everyone's all worried. They can't remake it. They're not. They're doing an updated story.
Okay.
And let's just say that the kids have familiar last names. But
nice.
It's not the same characters. Okay. Call it another generation. Can you live with that?
I can.
Okay. People are like, well, how are they going to do this L Trains? How are they going to do Blues Bar? How are they going to do? They're not. It's a frickin' redo. It's not a remake. So they're going to have entirely new situations, like a rap club. And no, I'm kidding.
I just got word in my monitor that MF Jones is watching live, and that Michael H. in studio of Michael H. is just biked in a bike, and that's weird because we're on a second floor apartment. So the fact that he just rode in on a bike is kind of freaking me out.
Uh-oh, I lost you guys. Where'd you go?
Oh, I'm here.
I'm here.
Hi, Keith.
There it is. Oh,
There we are. All right, so
I'm trying to see how many people were watching live. So.
Okay, good.
Hundreds, thousands,
tens of fans.
Did I mess up? I invited some people to watch, and I don't know if I screwed up.
No, you did great because our Twitter blew up, and it blew up more than it's ever blown up, and that makes me happy.
Excellent.
Especially because I get criticized for my Twittering by someone who's on this podcast, and it's not you, Keith. So I'm happy that
everyone has their own job, Glenn.
Where kids pick up like cassette tapes and Walkmans and Game Boys. Have you seen that YouTube channel?
Yes, I have.
So fucking great. You're like, oh my god. I play with it for like 2 hours and I drop it.
It's honestly what the Goldbergs has become to me as a teachable moment. Because they did the
They run. They're like, tape this, and I'm like, you're about to tape over the Olympics. Don't you understand?
right. The Discman episode a few weeks ago was great because I had a Discman. It was the worst fucking thing that ever existed.
Wait, which one?
They had a whole segment on Discmans instead of Walkman.
Yeah, the
Discman, and it skipped.
Yeah, the CD player. I love their recreation of the long CD boxes as well.
Yes.
I mean, it took me right back to that moment. That was
absolutely. That's the great thing about the show. I don't know if you're up to date because you're off on some island vacation, Keith.
Yes.
But they did an America's Funniest Home Videos episode 2 weeks ago. And my dad was constantly trying to put us on America's Funniest Home Videos that first year. He was constantly filming shit to try to get us on. And so he calls me after. He doesn't watch in real time. He usually catches up marathon. So I get a call at the end of the night being like, let's discuss the last 4 Goldbergs. And I'm like, all right. And then he wants to talk about my childhood, which is beautiful because I love my parents, and that was awesome. Now, you brought up the Goldbergs, which...
yeah, and Goldberg's, I just want to know, I had a brainstorm as I was thinking about how Adam filmed his childhood, and we often see the actual footage at the end of the episode that they base the episodes on, and I think that's genius. That the 80s filmed our childhood for us, if that makes any sense, in that a lot of our memories are going to see Monster Squad, or going to see Goonies, or going to see Gremlins that summer. Right now with Jurassic World coming out, they have a great clip on talking about all of the people involved in Jurassic World about where they were when Jurassic Park came out. And so those memories, things like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, are such a part of their childhood. They're like our home movies too, and this is why I think we can watch them. But we have to watch out because there is a nostalgia factor that the next generation doesn't have. If something's cult enough, it'll be brought up, they'll investigate, they'll be like, oh, I heard about this, I'll watch it. But they might not get it, at the time. We get it because we lived through it. So I don't know. I mean, I watch classic film and try to understand, the zeitgeist of the moment of everything. We had, I think it was because it was targeting us. Watch Mad Men as it's slowly dropping the age that they're targeting to, and the dollar is dropping down in disposable income. And in the 80s and the 90s, their kids had more disposable income than they'd ever had. And we were also given, in the 70s, we were given the effluence of the manufacturing society. Oh, this metal coil, this thing that we don't need anymore, fuck it, it's a slinky, play with it. Oh, this goop, this gobby, I don't know what, fuck it, it's silly putty, play with it. So we got Legos, we got erector sets. They didn't even make the toys for us. They're like, you're China, fucking do it, in the 70s. So in the 80s, we started getting things packaged and, and like, we started becoming the consumers, and we started buying world products in the 80s. Back and then it was made in Japan, made in Taiwan, but slowly shifted to made in China. And it was so colorful, and that bled into the 90s of the colors of the Cosby Show and A Different World, and
it's a different world from where you're coming from.
I have a theory about Lisa Bonet and Different World.
Oh, I have a lot of theories about Lisa Bonet.
So some people say, in terms of the Phil Cosby thing, well, wouldn't he have done something to Lisa Bonet maybe, or whatever, And they're like, well, she did the Epiphany in the movie and the Angel Heart, and he's like, kicked her off the show. No, he gave her own show. She got A Different World. Right. Which might have been, but A Different World might have been an under-the-table payout to waking up one day.
Oh, I completely agree.
And seeing Cosby in a robe going, hey. I want my own show, dickbag. I want my own fucking show.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Seriously,
you can do it.
But I'm just saying.
I'm with you.
I'm completely with you.
Just a theory.
So I have 2 more questions as we wrap up.
Yes.
I want to give Michael his just due. Michael, do you have anything else before I answer
in Toy Soldiers, the mouthwash.
Son of a bitch! This is not Toy Soldiers.
Did that ever happen in real life where they'd sneak in alcohol inside?
What if we had a separate Toy Soldiers episode? You're ruining all of our shit.
We can get hit by an asteroid, Glenn. I wouldn't have asked this toy soldiers question, Glenn.
Fucking question on the asteroid Ben Affleck premise.
Is this a real
Sure.
thing? People do this?
I don't know. I didn't go to fucking school. I
Thank you,
didn't go to
Great answer.
anything with a Greek system or anything like flats or
All right,
I didn't go to
fine.
any like boarding
Questions. You don't
school.
have to answer any of Michael's bullshit questions.
I'm ready for my
Just
final
like
thought,
Baby
Glenn.
Boom.
I'm ready for my final thought.
All right. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and apparently Michael has a Jerry Springer final thought.
Take care of each other.
One of these questions will be easier than the other, and I'll save that to the final question. What would Kenneth be doing today? This is my inside the actor studio question.
Well, I'll tell you. Throughout the years, I've gotten fan mail and I've gotten notes and emails and whatnots and private messages on Facebook.
Tell me what the fan fiction says.
Well, the fans that were burnout stoners that happened to catch this at the right time of their lives that became gourmet chefs. They went to Culinary Academy and now work at 5-star hotels in Miami.
Fucking Julia Child.
This story isn't singular. I get numerous
absolutely.
emails from people that say, swear to God, that movie changed my life, and I'm now doing this and this and this. And I think that's why he'd be running his own restaurant. Absolutely.
And I agree with you.
It would be in Colorado, and it would be edibles, and it would be the best stuff you've ever had.
Combine
I
them.
agree with you. And here's the thing, is you can actually go to KeithCooganFanfiction.com, which is my website, where I write fanfiction for all of your roles.
Wow.
Absolutely, he's actually a chef, and he has 3 kids, and the mother left. You know what? Just go to the website, KeithCooganFanfiction.com. You can read it all.
That's so disturbing.
Real quick, before I ask my final question, I actually placed an order. Well, I don't think I've actually hit send yet today on the Etsy account because I have 3 things I'm ordering. But I want you to plug it, and we're going to actually put the link in this episode.
Send now, because these, oh my God, these pieces are amazing. They're all handmade.
They're great.
And you can get anything from that era. They've got stuff from really every film. I mean, and all the way up till now. They've got Orange is the New Black stuff. All of their stuff.
I only want Keith Coogan shit.
It's full of the iconography, but it's got a little skew and a slant on it, and they're rainbow alternative and Night Owl designs. They love the alternative to alternative.
Well, Keith, we're in the Midwest, so everything you just said doesn't make sense. But I'm still going to order it.
Alternative became mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just this love of pop culture. And what I love is seeing the onesies and these little babies wearing "Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead" stuff, or dishes are done. They'll have no idea, and they'll grow up and they'll be like, "What the hell is this?"
Right.
But they have everything. I personally think the apron is a great deal. At $15, you can get a "Dishes Are Done" apron with Kenny on it.
Keith, I don't want any spoilers, but one of these hosts, not me, just has a 1-month-old baby, and maybe I ordered some things. So I don't want you to be spoiling anything. But anyway, I agree. The Etsy site is awesome. Last time we talked, I was like, oh, I'm going to order, and I completely fucking spaced out. And then you posted something a few days ago, and I took a picture of your post with my phone. It's a phone, and so I had the website say I could go to it, and I went to it today. So I will definitely. I have an order. I will hit send, and that will be done. So this is my final question for you. Are you ready? This is gonna get deep. What is Pinky doing right now?
She's sleeping.
What the fuck? She's not even. The whole time I pictured her behind the tiki bar.
Binge watching to do. We've got, oh wait, she could be out at Kimmel right now. Oh, that's right. No, we've had a long week, and we've got some binge watching to do tonight. We've got Goldberg's, we've got Middle, we've got It's Fresh Off the Boat. No, that's coming. That already happened. I have a great show too. Fresh Off the Boat's a great show.
Yes, it is.
I'm catching the '90s culture like Shaq Fu.
Phil's my
It's a
father.
great pairing with Goldberg's. I think Fresh Off the Boat's a great pairing with Goldberg's.
I love Fresh Off the Boat, actually. It's a great show.
Yeah, Pinky says hi, and she's like, you talked to these guys before. Remember that? And I'm like, oh yeah, I did talk to these guys.
I love Pinky. I'm friends with her on Facebook. She's awesome. I think we could do a whole show with just her talking about people she's met. I think that'd be awesome.
I mean, you see the pictures, and they're just
I
ridiculous.
see them. Yeah, it's insane what the lengths she goes to meet awesome people, and that's awesome. So will you please tell her we say hi?
I will.
We've brought her up now twice because we think she's awesome.
She is. She is.
She is.
I love
You're
my
a
mom.
very lucky man.
Yes, I am.
And
And she has a blog, pinkylovejoy.com.
yes,
You
she
can
does.
keep track of our lives as well as her celebrity encounters.
Can I ask you a question? How did you meet her?
At an autograph convention.
No, well, that doesn't surprise me because I am friends with her on Facebook.
It's
But holy
first-
shit,
My first autograph convention.
really? That's
And
awesome.
she walked up to my table. She's like, how much for a picture? And I'm like, $20. She's like, just to take a picture? I'm like, well, an autograph is $20 and the picture's free. That's what I was told to say. So we do, and we do the thing, and I stand up to take the picture with her, and we get just eye to eye like this, and just look into her eyes. And I'm like, are we going to start making out? And she's like, are you going to charge me? And then so she did a 2-question interview, what was my first fan encounter and what was my weirdest fan encounter. And she's got a few of those interviews on her site. And you can see that we're going to be together on that first day that we met, and you can see it on the video. It's pretty amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a great love story.
I love Pinky. Like I said, we are Facebook friends, and I love seeing her crazy encounters. But most of all, Keith, we love you. I mean, you were one of our first guests, if not the first guest, and you definitely upped our game. As you can see, look at how high-tech we are now.
Got banners. We got the banners. Well, especially
We got banners, Keith. We got
Adventures
all
in
your
Babysitting was
stuff
like,
to you.
we would not have done the podcast if Adventures in Babysitting did not exist. So, thank
Yeah,
you.
this is the part where we're going to get really dick-sucky, and we're going to be like, Keith, you're the greatest person.
Your Twitter profile is still Elizabeth Shue's silhouette? Is that right?
And will never change. It
Anything to
will
her
never
about-
change.
James?
But yeah, honestly, you were one of our first guests. You actually legitimately inspired us to do video because
Oh, cool.
we did the video. We were capturing video, but on Skype, and Skype's a completely different animal. And when you did the show, you were so well dressed, you're ready, and we are just like, God, why the fuck don't we do video? Like, why? So we.
And this time I'm in my tiki hut. Wow.
No, your tiki hut's a fucking perfect.
I think it's good. I think it's good.
Anyway, so you really did inspire us to try to do more, and you inspired us to even do this because don't fuck with the babysitter. Like that's what our motto has been for 6 years. And if you look up podcasting, not a lot of podcasts have been around for 6 years, and we've been doing this because we love the '80s and we love you, Keith. And this will not be your last appearance. I fucking guarantee it because I will Facebook stalk you till the day you die. But we thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this and for promoting it like you have.
I do support a Toy Soldiers issue if we get into that.
It's done.
Whatever. I'm busy. Probably.
Done. Okay.
It will be done. It will definitely be done.
No, it's hard to produce anything and to produce something over and over and over again, and to learn and grow as you go is awesome, and you guys inspire everybody else, and thank you, and thanks for loving the movies. I got lucky to be in them, and they're great opportunities, and they lead to meeting other film fans as yourselves, and we geek out over the same things.
Right, and honestly, we wouldn't have got Andre Gower if he didn't attend your house for a party, and I saw it on Facebook, and I vultured in, and now
Get inside Keith's business right now.
yeah, we vultured into Andre, and then Now we got Claudia Wells. I'm gonna book her.
Absolutely.
And she's gonna say I'm a better guest than Keith Coogan, and then you're gonna come back and you're gonna prove it wrong because that's the cycle.
Oh yeah. Well,
Keith,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
This means the world to us. Thank you so much. And you know what? Stay awesome, everybody.
No, Glenn.
Stay awesome, everybody. And this podcast is done, man.